Hello everyone. I hope you guys are doing well and taking care of yourself and your families. Hope you are safe at home. I think today's topic of discussion is all about lab-grown diamonds. Particularly, I'd like to focus a little bit more on CVD diamonds as well, and take you through the journey of lab-grown diamonds and how this new era for lab-grown diamonds is going to be. So without further ado, I will perhaps start my presentation. Hope you guys enjoy it. I am going to first share my screen with you guys. 1 second. So, new era for lab-grown CVD diamonds. I hope by this end of the presentation, I'm able to send you guys back with 3 major takeaways. The first one being that lab-grown diamonds have successfully established itself as a product category within the gems and jewelry industry. The second one being that lab-grown diamonds should be looked at as an incremental business opportunity within the gems and jewelry space, not sabotaging on any other product, but offering consumers a different product choice. And the third one, which I feel is extremely crucial, is to see how India is shaping up to make a pivotal and a crucial place within the lab-grown space, and how CVD diamonds are also going to be extremely crucial when it comes to shaping up the lab-grown diamond industry. So perhaps first, I'd just like to place a little bit more thoughts on what has happened in the last 3 years in our diamond industry, right? So if you look at the natural diamond space, I think in the last 3 years, it started off with, unfortunately, the Nirav Modi scam, and which resulted in a lot of scale back of financing from our industry. As you can see, as an industry, we lost about $5 billion in terms of financing from institutions and banks since 2013. Along with that, of course, there was the announcement of big mines such as the Argyle mines, which were shutting down. De Beers scaled back their operations and production, with sales of rough diamonds down 53% year on year. India was facing significant problems of demonetization. Now there have been IT notices issued on the sales of demonetization, the gold import duty hike. All of this has had a impact on the pricing of natural diamonds, as we have seen a decline by 8% recently, which has created this whole controversy around RapNet. But the scenario has been gloomy for the last 3 years, unfortunately, for the natural diamond industry. What is interesting to see is in the same 3 years, what has happened to lab-grown diamonds and how it has slowly yet successfully managed to build a space for itself in the gems and jewelry sector. If you see, 2018 was perhaps one of the most critical and important year for the lab-grown diamond space, with some big statements and bold statements that had come out in our industry. The first one from the US Federal Trade Commission, which categorically stated that lab-grown diamonds cannot be referred to as synthetic diamonds. You have to define them as lab-grown because they are as real as natural diamonds. And the second one coming out from Matthew Hall from GIA, who came out in the open and made a statement that lab-grown diamonds are as real as natural diamonds, bearing the same physical, chemical, thermal properties, which obviously, naturally gave a lot of validation to this sector, to the industry. Then we also saw De Beers launch Lightbox. I think that was one of the key milestone events that had happened in 2018. And along with that, they also invested into a $90 million facility in Portland to cater to the lab-grown diamond production. So this all sort of, gave clear indications of how lab-grown diamond was setting up. There was, in fact, a US survey which was done to understand the consumer response to lab-grown diamonds, of which within that survey, where 70% of the millennials said that they would consider buying a lab-grown diamond. In 2019, this sort of escalated and lab-grown diamonds penetrated further. The lab-grown diamond production then increased to about 2 million carats and constituted of about 2 to 3% of natural diamond production. Analysts like Paul Zimnisky, I know we've all heard about him, but he estimated that the lab-grown diamond jewelry opportunity is estimated to be currently at about $2 billion, but estimated to reach $15 billion by 2035 in the next 15 years. We also saw a huge, lab-grown diamonds. The two major countries that have been exporting lab-grown diamonds so far have been India and China. And India saw a 102% year-on-year increase in exports in 2019, which was a remarkable, year with $443 million worth of exports that had happened from our country. At the same time period, where natural diamond exports from India were down 19% year-on-year. We had also, 2019, had also noticed a 28% price increase quarter on quarter in 1 carat solitaire or above 1 carat solitaire sizes, which was something, unprecedented and something very, very interesting to see within the lab grown, particularly the CVD diamond industry. And then came 2020. Again, we were actually hoping for a good 2020, and, things were shaping up for the lab-grown diamond space, with Indian polished exports reported to be 60% up year on year. And there were a lot of different brands that had also started. I mean, of course, US as a market has completely embraced, lab-grown diamonds as a product, whilst, other countries were also catching up. But unfortunately, we were hit with, the global pandemic of coronavirus, which I hope we all can, pass through in a healthy manner. But what has been the impact of COVID-19, and what does this mean for our industry going forward? Yes, of course, this is not going to be an easy time. The next few months are going to be difficult for all of us. A lot of study and report suggests, and very obviously, there's going to be a lot of stress around the economies. The consumer confidence and willingness to spend, particularly on luxury, is going to be a little low. But given the stimulus packages that all countries have sort of introduced across different territories, I feel that the economies are going to recover faster. Consumer spending is going to come back faster than we anticipate, and as a result of which, the luxury industry is going to recover, with US infusing over $2 trillion, India infusing over $100 billion, Japan has recently introduced a stimulus package of $1 trillion. I think most of the countries are doing their bit to ensure that they learn from the previous financial crisis or any other crisis that we've seen before, and instill the liquidity in the economies to boost the economies faster. And I feel that that is going to have an impact on the consumers very slowly. But in recovery, what are consumers going to want? Is there going to be a difference between the consumer's mindset pre-COVID and post-COVID? Is there going to be a difference in their behavioral and purchasing patterns that we have seen before COVID? Has this pandemic have had any impact on their mindset, on their attitude towards spending on luxury? Absolutely, right? There have been significant studies that have happened, and recent report, written by BAIN and company, has said that as a response to this crisis, the consumer's mindset towards luxury is going to change drastically. And they have highlighted 5 points, which are the key trends that they see emerging as a response to the current crisis. The first and the most important one being that there's going to be an increased environmental and social consciousness. In fact, there has been huge statements which have been put out by, the UN Environment Chief, and talking about how coronavirus has been a warning signal from nature to us, talking about how deforestation and all of this has led to because of deforestation, the wildlife has come closer, in close contact to the natural, to the human habitat. And hence, this has become a warning signal for us to stop doing all the damage that we have been doing through. And in fact, if you see the line, the statement that they put out, it says that to prevent further outbreaks, the experts said both global heating and the destruction of natural world for three industries that they have mentioned is farming, mining, and housing have to end, as both drive wildlife in contact with people. They're trying to say that, everything that has happened so far, including the Amazon forests, the Australian fires, all of this is a warning signal from nature to stop doing what we're doing to the environment. We need to start being responsible as citizens of this planet, towards the wildlife, and ensure that, we are being sustainable for our future generation. And I think that is going to play a key role and a vital role when it comes to luxury products, right? Because at the end of the day, luxury is something that I hone for my selfish benefit, right? It is for, I purchase a diamond to look good, to enhance my personality. Now that I have an option to ensure that I don't do this at the cost of any environmental damage, any damage to the planet or people, is something that has been, a driving force of the consumer's mindset today. Second most important aspect that BAIN & Co report talks about is that ethics is going to become as important as aesthetics, right? So dealing with consumers, brands that will deal with consumers with complete honesty, transparency, disclosure, is going to win the hearts of the consumers. The world has become smaller, information travels much faster, and as a result of which, honesty and transparency is going to be key winners. Increased local pride with higher demand for national products, right? This, I think, is constantly being seen even in the current times, where a lot of my colleagues and friends and family, have even often, asked me to stop using or stop following TikTok because it's a Chinese product, right? So I think not any aversion to any country, but the love for your own country and the country, and for your products that are made in your country is going to increase. And we have seen, at least in India, where Shri Narendra Modi ji has increased their attention towards Make in India products. We've been reading in the newspapers in the last 3 days about how they're planning and strategizing on how to encourage Make in India products. And as a result of which, I feel like nationalized products and love for national products is going to increase going forward. Fourth most important thing is brands will have to revamp their offers at affordable prices, right? Yes, luxury has had its own share of premium in the past. Will it continue in the future is the big question, primarily because consumers' mindset has now turned extremely conservative when it comes to spending. What is going to happen tomorrow, I don't know. And as a result of which, I will save to make sure that I can sustain myself tomorrow. That's the kind of attitude that people are going to bring in. Yes, there is going to be some share of spending that was allocated previously to perhaps, let's say, travel, or to maybe going and eating outside in restaurants. That perhaps spending is not going to happen as frequently or as much as it used to happen before. And maybe that spending could shift into different luxury products, and perhaps jewelry could be one of them. But there is going to be a certain level of conservative mindset in making sure that I am consuming something that is value for money. I would not want to overspend on any particular product at this stage, because I'm wary of what's going to happen in the future. And accelerated shift to online shopping. So I think this point was inevitable. I think particularly in the gems and jewelry industry, we were seeing a clear drive towards digitization, and online shopping was becoming prevalent. But I think COVID has worked as a catalyst to sort of instigate this further and accelerate the frequency of online shopping. So all in all, I think sustainable and national luxury products is likely to see the highest demand going forward. Right? Consumers' thinking patterns and purchasing patterns are now all going to revolve around a purchase with a purpose, right? Do I have a purpose behind behind any particular purchase is something that the consumer is going to constantly ask him or herself before making any luxury product purchase. Now, in my opinion, all this points towards only one answer in the gems and jewelry industry, which is lab-grown diamonds, CVD diamonds, right? Real, pure, and sustainable. I will just like to perhaps, before I get into a video, I perhaps just, for the audiences, I'm sure most of the audiences know what CVD diamonds are all about. But just to give you a little bit more sense, I'll just give you a brief. CVD is chemical vapor deposition. That's the process through which these diamonds are, grown above the surface of the earth. So what they do is, it's similar to the concept of a test tube baby and a natural born baby, where you take the genes of, you take the DNA and then you recreate the environment or give the genes a different environment to grow. Similarly, in CVD, they take a natural diamond, they cut a thin layer of it, and then they place it in a reactor and give it the natural environment, exactly the same environment that it gets under the surface of the earth above. So the same gases, the same temperature, pressure is set to ensure that, from the gases, the carbon disintegrates, because diamond is nothing but, at the end of the day, made out of carbon. So the carbon disintegrates and starts forming layers on top of this natural diamond seed, as we call it. And that slowly grows into your rough CVD diamond. So without further ado, I'll just perhaps play a small video. Right. I'll quickly also go through how these diamonds are actually created in the reactors or grown in the reactors.
CVD diamonds, named after its process, chemical vapor deposition, undergo the same process as natural diamonds. It all starts with a diamond seed. A thin layer is cut from the natural diamond to form the CVD diamond seed. This seed is a type 2A seed, the purest form of diamond, 100% carbon. The seed is then polished and prepared to a required thickness for it to be placed in the CVD plasma reactor. Once placed in the reactor, the process begins, exactly the same as found under the surface of the earth. An intense environment of the temperature and pressure is created just like that found in the earth. When the diamond is growing in a natural environment, several other impurities like nitrogen and boron enter the diamond formation along with the gases. CVD process is controlled and doesn't allow any impurities to enter the diamond. Carbon particles slowly start disintegrating and forming layers on top of the diamond seed. The result is a rough CVD diamond, the same as a natural diamond, only purer. The diamonds are then removed with precision, and the cutting process begins. And they are the same. CVD diamonds have the same physical, chemical, and optical properties as the natural diamond. The guarantee of quality, the beauty of nature. A diamond deserves to be perfect.
Right. Go back to my presentation. So, friends, if you have any questions or any doubts, please feel free to put, within the Q&A section during the presentation, so that I can, answer them once I finish my presentation. So please do feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A segment. So moving on, I hope that was, that gave some insight into how CVD diamonds are actually created in the labs, or grown in the labs rather. What I genuinely feel is, and what my next section is going to be talking about, is 5 reasons why lab-grown CVD diamond can actually become the global gem and jewelry industry's ace card, right? We have been seeing a lot of tailwinds within our industry, and I genuinely feel that this can be a category which can help us emerge much stronger as a global industry going forward. Now, why do I think so? The first reason is, this, as you can see, the graph here speaks about the natural diamond consumption in the world. Now, 135 million carats of natural diamonds are consumed all over the world. Now, if you see the stats, 48 to 50% is actually consumed in the US, right? About 16% is consumed in China. And then there are single digit consumption numbers in the Gulf, in India and Japan, right? CVD diamonds or lab grown CVD diamonds could be opened up to segments outside of the category of natural diamond markets, right? Where if you look at India, right, 6% of India today, 6% of natural diamonds are consumed in India today. Why? Because majority of the other population cannot actually afford natural diamonds today, right? Why not open up lab grown CVD diamonds as a different product segment to people who could not afford natural diamonds, right? The same works for the rest of the world, or different parts of Gulf, Japan. It's all about opening a new geography, new territory, new product segment category for lab grown diamonds as the affordable luxury segment. So why just focus on US and China when we have the rest of the world in our hands today? That is one of the key things that we should be taking away from this. The second most important aspect of why we could emerge stronger with lab grown CVD diamonds is because of our future consumers. Millennials and Gen Z, across the world, this is, no-brainer that these are going to be our consumers for the next 15 to 20 years. Now, 2.3 billion global population of millennials across the world. What do they think about luxury, and what are their attitudes towards luxury going forward, right? Of which, if you see, by the way, if you notice, of the 200 billion people, 410 million, like you must have seen in the video also, are millennials in India. India today has the world's largest millennial population, and therefore I feel India is a country that you must not ignore when it comes to exploring and increasing the industry opportunity going forward. Now, what do these millennials think, right? So a recent Deloitte report that talks about their trends and what they think on luxury says climate has now become their top priority of concern in the minds of the millennials and Gen Z. When it comes to spending, 78% of millennials prefer to spend on experiences rather than high value possessions. Before COVID, if you asked any millennial, including myself, holidays, traveling, experiential luxury was something that I would love to spend on. But if you ask me to invest in gold, invest in a house, I'd be like, I'd rather live on rent. The only reason why any millennial was purchasing jewelry was primarily because of the design aspect of it. When, the millennials, a survey was done on them, and when they were asked on their discretionary spend, and where would they like to spend their discretionary spend, the top 3 items that they were willing to spend on discretionary, the first was fun and entertainment. The second was, as you can see, apparel and accessories. And the third was mobile and electronics. Hence, accessories or jewelry is something that they don't shy away from, even at this stage. And it remains second and a priority on their discretionary spend item, right? But as we had seen, as I previously spoken of also, that design is something that they consider when it comes to purchasing a jewelry. A jewelry is no longer by any millennial or Gen Z considered as an investment opportunity. When they look at investment, it's primarily investing in mutual funds. The only purpose behind purchasing jewelry is primarily to look good, to enhance your personality and the design of the aesthetic value of the jewelry. And, slowly, given the climate consciousness, the environment consciousness, as we've seen, the survey in the US that had happened was asked, 3,000 millennials were asked, $5,000, which one would you consider between a 1.5 carat lab grown diamond and a 1 carat mined diamond? 70% of that survey said that they would prefer a 1.5 carat lab grown diamond, primarily because of the price consciousness aspect, that they said that I get a bigger rock in the same amount of money, so why not? And 30% of that survey also said that I would choose a lab grown diamond primarily because of the environmental and the social benefits that it comes with. It is, I don't have to worry about the conflict of whether it is conflicted or conflict free. I know it comes directly from a lab. I know the source of it, and I know that these are real diamonds. So the mindset of these consumers is changing. And we have seen that across several different millennials, validating it with, Meghan Markle has come out and shown support for lab-grown diamonds by wearing them. Emma Watson has also worn lab-grown diamonds on, from different brands on various occasions. Most recently, in fact, we had, a seminar with Mr. Anil Prabhakar and Pakhi Gupta, who's a budding actress in India, with the famous, I'm not sure how many of you all have seen, but this is a famous Hotstar, online series called Special Ops. And when she was asked about what she thinks of lab-grown diamonds, what she mentioned is that her favorite stone, precious gemstone, was always a diamond. When she earned her first salary, she went out to Tiffany to buy her first diamond. She was extremely aspirational for buying diamonds, she felt like there was a strong energy that diamond gave, and she considered it as her sort of energy stone. But then when she understood that, so her statement was that we all know how we get our diamonds, and we all know how straining it is on our environment. But if there is an alternative to that, that is not as straining and has the same properties, then I'm not averse to that. Previously, I was focusing on diamonds because of the energies, but I would place the environment over anything else. So I am not averse to lab grown diamonds, right? I think this is strong representations of the kind of consumers that we are going to be seeing going forward, and understanding their mindset and their psyche of the purpose behind the purchase is extremely crucial, and where I feel lab grown CBD diamonds could definitely play a strong role. This was again a strong statement from Marty Hurwitz, who's the CEO of MVI Marketing, M6 Marketing, who said millennials are telling the jewelry industry that this is a product they're interested in and will come into the store to look at it. To ignore that opportunity, which is both profitable to the trade and valuable to the consumers, is a huge mistake. For an industry struggling to get millennials in the door, the answer is right in front of their eyes. And yes, sustainability has now grown to become an important part of every industry's, life cycle or product cycle. Now, 1 carat of CBD actually ends up saving 109 gallons of water. It ends up saving 1,750 tons of earth. This is a clear-cut example of what an environmental friendly or a sustainable product would look like. 44% millennials are willing to pay a premium on sustainable products is a clear-cut signal to ensuring that people are going to support the sustainability aspect of products. This is perhaps the most important slide that I want your attention to, where I feel that the gems and jewelry industry is actually currently extremely strong position when it comes to a sustainable product. See, every industry has actually introduced a sustainable version of their product, right? A lot of the industries actually are making their way towards this. So when it comes to automobiles, we have now got the electric vehicles. When it comes to fashion, we now have recyclable fashion or reuse fashion. When it comes to the plastic industry, we've got several products like the bamboo brushes, the bamboo straws, which have now started being introduced. But if you will notice across all of these segments, right, an electric vehicle is significantly more expensive than an equivalent conventional vehicle, right? The recyclable fashion or the reusable fashion is currently more expensive to the end consumer than the conventional counterpart. A plastic toothbrush costs significantly lesser than a bamboo toothbrush, and similarly for the straws. Gems and jewelry industry right now is perhaps one of the few industries which has a product like the lab-grown CBD diamonds, which actually costs lesser than the conventional product. Hence, supporting this cause of promoting and propagating this to consumers becomes a much easier proposition for the gems and jewelry industry today. And my fourth reason why we have to sort of, look at lab-grown diamond CBD as an important, important industry which could emerge the gems and jewelry industry a stronger player is because when times change and technology changes, a lot of industries have gone through the shift, right? When we had within the photography space, we had Kodak. Where is it today? With the invention of smartphones or GoPro technology, we don't see Kodak anymore. Nokia, it could not actually sustain itself very well because it did not accept the change in times and technology and the concept of smartphone technology faster than before, right? Had it been there, then it would not have lost to the likes of the iPhones or the Samsungs. In fact, this changing times and technology and what technology does to different industries is something that we have also seen within our gems and jewelry space, where pearls, initially there were Basra pearls, but now 90% of the pearl market is actually driven by cultured or cultivated pearls. So it is inevitable that you have to change with technology. And fifth, and the most important aspect of CVD diamonds is that, when your natural diamond is growing under the surface of the earth, there are these chemical impurities that get into the diamond, and as a result of which, purely because nitrogen or boron gets into this diamond. Now, why do we as consumers or retailers or the trade community care about these impurities of nitrogen? Is because that comes in the way of the light that falls in the diamond and hence affects the shine and the brightness of the diamond. as a result of which there are only 2% of world's natural diamonds ever which are nitrogen or boron free. They're completely composed of carbon. The shine, the brightness, the luster of these diamonds is significantly better than any other type of diamond. Right now, historically also, when labs used to sort of grade and evaluate diamonds, they used to and continue to classify diamonds into four categories depending on the type of impurity that got into the diamond. Any diamond which was composed entirely of carbon was classified as the purest type of diamond as type 2A. Now, why do we as consumers never know, or trade for that matter, were not fully aware of the type 2A concept is because it was an extreme rarity in natural diamonds. It still is an extreme rarity in natural diamonds. Only 2% of natural diamonds ever have been of the type 2A classification. On the screen, I have mentioned a few of them. Kohinoor from India, sorry. Kohinoor actually was famous for two reasons. Lesser known first fact was obviously that it was a 105 carat rock that came out from the surface of the earth. But the second and the most important reason was that it was the purest form of diamond. It was composed entirely of carbon, and it was a classified type 2A diamond, right? The Elizabeth Taylor diamond, the Graf Venus, which is a heart-shaped type 2A diamond, the Leslie Larona, one of the largest roughs in the world, 1,109 carats, was a type 2A. The Queen of Kalahari, which itself was called the ultra rare, was a type 2A. Now, the reason why I say this is that all of these type 2A diamonds have either sat with auction houses or with the bigger diamantaires or the elite crowd of the world, as opposed to any other consumer. It does not get to the hands of majority of the consumers because of the rarity. Now, when CVD diamonds are created or grown in the lab, right, the environment that is created, it is in our control to make sure that no impurity of nitrogen or boron gets into the environment along with the gases. Hence, what is produced through the CVD technology is the purest form of a diamond. It's composed entirely of carbon, and it is classified as type 2A. As you will see, most of the labs that certify these diamonds, they give out a certification where they mention categorically that they are type 2A diamonds, and their nature of origin is from CVD. Right, so there's a clear mention of the fact that they are type 2A. So coming to, perhaps some of the misconceptions that they have, that everyone has around CVD diamonds and the lab grown diamonds. I just thought that post my, 5 points of why I feel this should be the next big thing for our industry, I should also clear off all the misunderstandings that we have for the lab grown diamond industry. So myth number 1, all lab grown diamonds are CVD. Colloquially, at least in India, I've seen that a lot of people, just any diamond, any lab grown diamond is actually called a CVD diamond, but that is absolutely untrue. In fact, 90% of lab grown diamonds are Chinese HPHT diamonds. So let me clarify. The reason why I have been talking about CVD in particular is because there are two ways lab grown diamonds can be produced. The first aspect is CVD, which I have explained before. And the second process through which lab grown diamonds can be made, which is completely made in China at this stage, is HPHT, high pressure, high temperature. So the difference between CVD and HPHT is, while CVD exactly replicates what happens under the surface of the earth, HPHT diamonds, they end up taking graphite and they take a molten metal influx. They mix the two and then rain that on top of a natural diamond seed. So what the end result of an HPHT diamond comes with metal impurities, as a result of which any HPHT diamond will never give you a type 2A certification, because it is not the purest form of diamond. It is not entirely composed of carbon, right? As you see right now in the industry, 90% of lab grown diamonds that have influxed in this industry is all HPHT, is all from China. And it's all under 18 cents. So these are all the small diamonds which are being produced currently. Myth number 2, that, oh, there's machines now that are making diamonds, so there's going to be rapid price fall, there's going to be less profitability, and there's going to be no end in terms of overabundance of supply, right? So my first point to that is that if you would have seen in the recent past what has happened, the major price fall that has been seen in the lab-grown diamond industry is actually been in the HPHT diamonds. It's actually been in the Chinese diamonds as opposed to the CVD diamonds, right? 1 carat up, majority of 1 carat up diamonds are largely made through the CVD process, and those solitaires have actually seen a 28 to 29% increase quarter on quarter in the last quarter of 2019, right? Also, what is important to understand is that CVD as a technology is not easy to replicate, right? It's the reason why this pricing has gone up is because demand has completely surpassed the supply. There are very limited growers today in the world who are producing CVD focused or CVD specific diamonds, and as a result of which it is important to understand that this scalability of just lining up machines and producing in bulk is not going to happen as quickly as we see or as we foresee. And the second thing that I'd like to focus on, which brings me to the left side of this presentation of the screen, is that I think it's time that the gems and jewelry industry in general stops commoditizing this product, right? What we have done with natural diamonds is something that we perhaps should not do with lab-grown diamonds. I think the premium on the pricing should be called by the brand itself, right? Today, if you see with the smartphone technology, what has happened, right? Smartphone technology has scaled up, right? There are millions and millions of people who are actually probably making smartphones. But the brands are what are calling the pricing. The brands are what are calling the premium on the pricing, right? And that is what is going to happen within the CVD space also. So it is going to be very crucial and very important for retailers to understand that branding is going to play a very, very key role in terms of you attracting the future consumers to your retail stores, right? Whether you want to be an iPhone or you want to be a Xiaomi is all completely left up to you. But technology is not going to speed up and, suddenly there's not going to be an influx. Yes, eventually, absolutely, there's going to be an increase in supply. But what we also see is that whilst there's going to be an increase in supply in lab-grown CVD diamonds, there is an anticipated decline in natural diamond production as well, right? We have seen one of the largest mines shut down in 2019, the Argyle mines. Slowly, a lot of the other mines are going to follow suit. And studies suggest that, right now, 134 to 135 million carats that we're consuming, right, or producing is expected to go down to 14 million carats by 2050 because exploration budgets are too high, mines are not becoming economically viable, De Beers has scaled back operations also last year, and so on and so forth. We've already been seeing the problems when it comes to the mining industry. Along with that, what is anticipated is that the demand for diamonds is going to constantly rise due to the rampant spending that consumers, particularly millennials and Gen Z, do on luxury and luxury products like jewelry. So 134 million carats in the same period of time is expected in terms of demand to rise to 292 million carats, right? So there's a huge gap that potentially lab-grown CVD diamonds could also fill in, right? And this is also going to be one of the key reasons why we don't see prices, or I particularly don't see prices falling so rapidly, and brands are what is going to call the premium on the product. Myth number 3, I think I explained this a little before as well, but CVD and HPHT are of the same quality. Absolutely not true. CVD, like I said, replicates what happens under the surface. HPHT has molten metal impurities, and as a result of which CVD always gets the type 2A certification, and HPHT always will not get the type 2A certification. And myth number 4, I think this is also related to, the pricing aspect that we've seen before. When De Beers launched Lightbox, everybody started thinking that 1 carat of a CVD diamond is now priced at $800, right? Which is not true. And, as you can see from the from the website itself, it says that the 1 carat total weight of the solitaire studs is $1,000, where 800 plus 200 is their standard setting price that they have given. So $800 is actually given to two 50-pointer solitaires as opposed to 1 carat sized solitaire, right? So it's a myth when they say that $800 is the price of 1 carat CVD. And it is a myth that the pricing has declined so much to be at $800. In fact, a lot of brands in the US have seen an uptick in pricing, particularly when it comes to lab-grown CVD diamonds. So thank you guys. If you have any further questions, you can obviously, after this presentation, I will be opening this up to Q&A. So I will answer your questions, but in case later on, feel free to reach out to me on my email ID or my contact details. But I will now stop sharing and maybe open to Q&A. Right. So one of the key questions. Okay, so I'm just going through a lot of questions coming through. So okay, so one of the questions is, what is the price gap in a specific shape size between natural and lab created? What is grade segregation criteria for such lab created diamonds? So this is a question from Unnat Gautam. And so what is important to understand is that even lab grown diamonds have the same color, clarity, grade specifications as natural diamond, right? Going back to the analogy of a test tube baby, just like how you cannot decide whether you want a film star's face to a test tube baby, or you want a boy or a girl, the same way the growing process for a CVD diamond is as natural, and as a result of which you can get a VBS quality, you can get a D color, you can get an E color, you can get every possible color, grade, clarity in CVD diamonds, because that is not in our control. I cannot just press a button and say today I want DIF. It requires them to grow in a particular way inside the reactor, just like how they would have been growing under the surface of the earth. So the difference between, just on an average, the most likely difference that you would see in pricing between a lab grown and a natural diamond is roughly about, at least when it comes to CVD diamonds, is roughly about 50% when it comes to jewelry. And that's how, when it comes to the grading, when, your question on certification, I think it's all about the grading happens exactly the same way. So there's no difference on that. Okay. So someone's asking what is, so let me just read out. Manish Verma is asking, what is the status of B2C in India? I think this is a very interesting question, Manish, because I strongly feel, of India as a big market opportunity. And, so consumers have, I think there's a huge wave of educational drive that needs to be happening in our country today. And I think that has already started. Consumers have started understanding that there is a different product called lab-grown diamonds. Whether they understand the authenticity of it or not is something that slowly people are understanding. They're understanding their real diamonds. We have seen significant progress in the last few months, just before COVID, where people had started coming up to us and specifically purchasing, coming because they knew what lab-grown diamonds were, and they only wanted to purchase lab-grown diamonds. Okay, then someone's asked how someone can verify the difference on both for a general person. So yes, with a naked eye, you cannot distinguish between a CVD diamond and a natural diamond. It is impossible to tell the difference. Even with a magnifying glass, you cannot tell the difference, as they both share the same chemical optical characteristics. The only way you can tell a difference between a lab grown and a natural diamond is through lab tests at this point in time. right? So okay, so there being some questions on talking about the fact that land mining etc. is messing up with the environment, but there is consumption of electricity that's also consumed for producing lab grown specific diamonds. So here I would like to bring to notice that whilst there are different agencies who are going to be working towards categorizing lab grown diamonds as whether they are sustainable, environmental friendly or not, and we are all working towards that. There are a lot of different CVD technology players who have started adopting, whether they're in India or outside of India, who've started adopting renewable energy sources as part of their electricity measures, number one. Number two is reports and research, and one of the growing units that we are also connected with suggests, or some of the growers in India suggests, that while mines use up 60 to 80 kilowatt hours per carat, some growers in India are being able to consume only 40 kilowatt hour per carat. So even in that sense, there's a significant difference in terms of the electricity consumption that a CVD lab grown diamond takes versus the mining impact that natural diamonds have. And at the end of the day, if you go and look at it, what is this technology doing, right? It is essentially taking carbon from the environment and putting it and storing it in a stone, right? So I'm waiting for third-party validation to happen very soon on this, so that we don't have any controversies going forward, which is already in process for a lot of growers. But yes, there is enough research and enough data to validate the fact that this does not have as much carbon emissions, or it's not consuming more electricity than mining, for sure. Right. So one of the questions is also, how do we sort of, in terms of the lab grown diamond market, how do we differentiate ourselves and create a niche for us in the industry? I think this is a great question, and I feel like this is something that as an industry we must strongly feel that this is a different product segment for our consumers. It is supposed to be given as a different choice to the consumers. And the way I see it is that how natural diamonds have established themselves as an ultimate symbol of love. I feel lab grown CVD diamonds could establish themselves as an ultimate symbol of success, right? Or an ultimate symbol of achievements. There are more and more women out there who are becoming extremely self-independent, who are now making their own choices. The economics, the womanomics, or economics of women, is actually growing at a far better rate than any economy today. So I feel like capturing that and enhancing that to make sure that women can now purchase their own diamonds. 33% of women are now already purchasing their own diamonds. So that self-dependency, being able to make choices, being able to celebrate every milestone of your life, not just the element of love, but being able to celebrate every little milestone of achievement is something that I feel CVD diamonds can strongly stand for. And why do you need a he to buy you a diamond anymore, is how I would place it. Right. Okay, let me just go through some chats. Okay, one other question is, does CVD have a certificate? Yes, it does. There are labs like SGL labs, and who certify lab-grown CVD diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, whether they are CVD or HPHT, and they also certify lab-grown diamond jewelry. So, which is one of the key things that is essential to increase transparency and communication with your consumer. It just helps to be out there and speak to the consumers. Okay, I'm just going to take a couple more questions. So someone says, how can we join lab grown diamond business? Sagar, Thank you so much. I'm glad that's a question, but I feel depending on whatever part of the world you are, I think there's ample opportunities to join this business. One of the key things that I keep telling retailers in India also is that it's very easy to learn from what De Beers is doing, right? A lot of retailers in India today have concerns that what will happen to our imagery if we start selling natural diamonds and lab grown diamonds under the same retail brand. And I truly understand and empathize with that aspect and how consumers would get confused if both of these aspects were kept under the same same name. uh, but look at what De Beers did, right? De Beers came out with something called Lightbox, which looked completely different in terms of branding, in terms of communication, in terms of their style, and sits nothing under the the categoric branding of De Beers, but yet they're available in both aspects. And I think maybe partnering or retailing out with different brands who are already working towards this, who are already working in the lab grown space, establishing themselves and working hard to educate the consumers and audiences. I think partnering with them, setting up counters with them, is perhaps the right way of making sure that all the efforts are aligned for somebody who wants to join the lab grown diamond industry today. Okay, perhaps the last question. Okay, so, well, how easy would it be for new startups to create a position in this industry post-COVID? How could we find opportunities in the coming time? I think I, answered it previously also. I think going forward, this has a huge, huge, huge scope, within not just the technology space, but the consumer retail space. Because the consumer's mindset has completely changed post-COVID. Consumers' preference towards climate and something that supports the climate and environment is going to drastically see a lot more support going forward, a lot more encouragement going forward. And I feel that the gems and jewelry industry is well placed with a product like this to come through, and a lot of different businesses could arise out of this opportunity. Okay, so I hope this has been an interesting session for you all. I hope you all have been able to take back, some insights on the CVD diamond market, on the lab-grown industry, and how we all could make this worthwhile for us in the gems and jewelry industry and make a big opportunity out of this. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your time.